Om Gyanantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitamina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So in this chapter, Krishna has shown Arjuna the universal form. And Arjuna needed celestial eyes in order to see such a form. So Krishna gifted him those eyes. He saw universal form, he saw something very ghastly, which he later comes to find out is the form of time, destroying everything. It was quite fearful. So after seeing that particular form, he began to offer prayers to Krishna. And he apologizes for taking Krishna for granted, because the nature of divine love, prema, is that it eclipses the Godhead's Godhood. His godness is eclipsed by divine love. So they only see Krishna as their friend or child, as their beloved, but they don't really see Krishna as a god. So Arjuna apologizes for not appreciating his godhood and kind of cutting jokes with him and treating him as if he was an ordinary person. So he kind of begins to see Krishna, you can say, with chastened eyes, and eyes that are informed by Krishna's divinity, which quite frightened him. So after saying that, Arjuna requests to see the human form of the Lord, or his four-armed form, and then his two-armed forms. So Krishna first manifested the four-armed form we heard, and then the two-armed form. And after Arjuna sees the two-armed form, it is mentioned, particularly in text 51, which is kind of an important verse. When he sees that particular form of the Lord, then his consciousness, sacheta pakritanchita, his consciousness is able to come back to its normal state. So one is able to attain their normal state of consciousness in relationship to the form of Krishna, not in relationship to the form of the universal form. If you see the universal form, the only thing you will feel is fear. But in relation to Krishna's form, then other sorts of emotions can arise. So that's where we kind of left off. So we're on verse 52. 1152. So Krishna's making his kind of final point about this form. Because in Bhakti traditions, there's acceptance of the divine form of the Lord. And it's not just a product of illusion that is meant for meditation. So, and a lot of people would articulate it in this way today. In some systems, the deity form of the Lord is thought of as some product of Maya, but like a good product of Maya that is meant for meditation. And after you become advanced in your meditation, then you don't need to look at the form of the Lord, you can give it up. This is a general understanding of a lot of people, a lot of Hindus also. So they are really attached to their deity worship and all these things, but they ultimately feel that the forms are illusory. So in Bhakti tradition, in order for Bhakti to be a real thing, then the object of Bhakti has to be real, and the subject of Bhakti has to be real also. You understand? Because love means the relationship, love is a relationship between a subject and the object. As soon as you say love, there's an object of love, and then there's a subject of love. The object of love is the one at whom love is directed, and the subject of love is one in whom love is contained, right? So if you say love, that means these three have to be there. So if it's real, if Bhakti is real, then there must be a real object of that Bhakti, and there must be a real subject of that Bhakti. So in Bhakti traditions, they have to spend a lot of time arguing for the ultimate reality of God and the ultimate existence of the Jiva. Otherwise, in other Vedanta traditions, monistic Vedanta, they say that the form of the Jiva and the form of Bhagavan is both illusion. They're just part, Bhagavan is part of the goodness aspect of illusion. The Jiva is part of the ignorant aspect of illusion. But they're all illusion, and once you realize that, you can just realize it's all Brahman and so on. They say like this. So that means Bhakti is also ultimately illusion. So there may be some sort of sadhana that is useful for something, but that is also an illusion. So Bhakti traditions have to fight with these people. And so that's what all these commentaries, Gita, they fight a lot. If you read the commentaries, then you'll get a nice entertainment, because you see so-and-so says like this, but and they fight. Because they have to establish the ultimate reality of devotion. which Krishna is advocating for. So in this very last part of chapter 11, which we're going to look at right now, Krishna is very explicitly advocating for this devotion to his form, to him. So he says this here. This is 1152. This is the first place. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Sudarshamidam rupam drishtavan asyan mama deva apya sarupasya nityam darshana kankshina. So I'll just read the translation. My dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to serve this form, which is so dear. So idam rupam, this form. So Krishna's two-armed form is in front of Arjuna now. So idam rupam, this form, mama, this form of mine, yan drishtavanasi, that you are now seeing. So that's the two-armed form that Arjuna is looking at. Sudadharsham, this is very difficult form to see. So it is not an aspect. Seeing a human form is not very difficult to see. But seeing Krishna's form is very difficult, even though it looks like human. Just like there's this one story, Kalyavanasura. Anyway, he had attacked Krishna. And Krishna did a pastime to make arrangement for killing him, because that is part of Krishna's Leela. Vinashaya Chadushkritam, to kill the demons. So the demon Kalyavanasura was chasing Krishna's form. So Krishna looked like he was walking. He was just walking. And the demon was running full speed. But somehow the Krishna was just in front. He couldn't catch He couldn't catch Krishna. So Krishna was just like casually walking. And the demon was running like full speed. He couldn't catch. It's just like sometimes, you know, you have those nightmares where you're like running like full speed and you're moving super slow. You ever have dreams like that? So Kalyavanasura was chasing. He could not catch Krishna. Similarly, Mother Jasoda was trying to bind Krishna. So he had looked like a little baby form. She was trying to bind Krishna. But somehow or other, even though she had rope that was stretching practically miles, somehow the rope was still coming out the width of 2 fingers too short. Every time. So she would take that rope and attach it to another rope and try, and it was still coming out the width of 2 fingers too short. So although Krishna's form looks very human, it is achinta rupa. Krishna says in chapter 8, verse 9, his form is achinta rupa. It is an inconceivable form because everything is contained inside of it, and yet it's localized. So how you can conceive of that? Actually, it is impossible for the mind to think about a 0 and a 1 at the same time. Just like sometimes we have this concept, which is not true. We call it multitasking. But it's not actually possible for the mind to multitask. What you do is one thing, and then you do another thing. You just jump between the two. But it's not you can't do it at the same time. So the mind doesn't have that capacity. So that Krishna can be all pervasive and localized at the same time is inconceivable. Actually, it is conceivable how, for people who think that, or who offer the criticism that God is how one can think God is personal. This is often a criticism that comes because a person's form is, localized. So then God must be, since he's ubiquitous, he must be like just like energy that's spread everywhere. But that is kind of more conceivable than a God who is both all-pervading and localized at the same time. Because your concept of God being all-pervading is still, from the reference point of your concept of what it means to be human, it's kind of still connected to your own concept of what it means to be all-pervading. But that there could be a person with a form that is also all-pervading. That is more inconceivable than just God being everywhere, but not a person. So Suddhadarshan, Krishna is saying in this very verse that this form is actually very difficult to see. No one can actually see it. Deva api. So even the devas, the celestials, nityam darshana kankshana, they are always eager to see this form, asya rupasya, this form of mine, but they don't get a chance to see. So the idea of saying even the devas is to show that this form is very exalted, and it's not just one of the demigods. Of course, for Westerners, this is not a big issue because we're having doubts if there's a Krishna also. So there's not an issue of devas, but in India, they think Krishna is just one of the devas. So you may worship Shiva, you may worship Krishna, you may worship Indra. But by saying even the devas are desiring to see such a form, Krishna is demonstrating his position above the devas. In many places, Gita, Deva Deva, he is the Deva of devas, the god of gods. so to speak. Of course, Arjuna also saw all the devas being crushed by the universal form of Krishna. So that was already established Krishna supremacy. So in this way, he's also saying, even the devas, they want to see this form. So his form is not just another form of the celestial, so it is a transcendent form. Next verse, Krishna continuing the same idea. Naham vedhaya na tapasa, na dhane na nache gyagya, shakya evam vidho drashtrum, drishtavan asimamyata. So na vedhaya, not by study of Vedas, not tapasa, not by performing various austerities, not dhanena, not by giving charity, not cha, not ikyaya, or performing various yagyas. Shakya is one able, drashtavam, to see this form, drishtavam, as you are seeing. Evam vido, as I've shown it before you. The idea here is basically the general concept in religious circles is that if you're a good person, then you can associate with God. You're somehow close to God if you're a good person. And if you're a bad person, you're away from God. But here Krishna is making the point that even by being a pious person, so the Vedic concept of piety, study Vedas, doing all sorts of austerities, giving charity, performing various yagyas. So you're a good guy. But even though you're a good guy, that doesn't give you adhikar for seeing the transcendence, which is beyond goodness also. So it's when you say it like that, it sounds dangerous. But as we know, the material energy is comprised of three gunas: the sattva guna, the raja guna, and the tama guna. Right? So sattva means goodness, raja is passion, tama is ignorance. So God is beyond goodness also. So it is not by being situated in goodness you'll be able to associate with the Supreme Lord. There's a very nice verse, Prahlad Maharaj, you know Prahlad's story. Prahlad is a young boy. His father is Hiranyakashipu. You know his prayer in the Shinga they were singing every Namaste, Namaste, we sing this prayer. So Hiranyakashipu conquers the universe and he hates God. So as a stroke of luck, it would have it that his youngest son, Prahlad, was like deeply devoted to God. So he started, when he first talks to his son, Prahlad, he asked his son, what is the best of all subject matters that you've learned? And he told his father, that you should give up this house, which is a cause of the degradation of the soul. You can imagine it's like a 5-year-old boy. The father said he's going to say something like super petty, you know? Like, I learned how to color crayons and I learned how to find Wally in where's Waldo? Where was that? Waldo. Find Waldo in the Where's Waldo book, you know? But we were growing up, this is the sort of stuff they were teaching us, you know? The cat in the hat. So Hiranyakashipu was thinking Prahlad's going to share something like, childish like this. So Prahlad is saying, you should give up this house, which is degrading your soul. And you should go to the forest and worship Lord Hari. So Hiranyakashipu, he just laughed it off that first time, and he chastised the teachers, why are you teaching my boy this Vaishnava philosophy? And they said, we're not teaching. We don't know where he's getting this from. And so they tried to brainwash him. After some time, they again brought him before his father. And then father said, okay, what is the best subject matter you have learned? And Prahlad said, Shravana, hearing, Kirtana, glorifying, Vishnu. So he throws Prahlad off and he begins persecuting him in so many ways. Over 1,000 ways he tried to kill Prahlad Maharaj. Threw him off the top of a mountain, threw him under the feet of stampeding elephants, tried to poison him, did black magic. He was trying everything, and somehow Prahlad Maharaj was not being able to be killed because of his remembrance of the Supreme Lord. So later on, Hiranyakashipu realized this kid is going to be the death of me. Oh, because this kid is very powerful. I'm not able to kill him. Later on, the Shingadev, the form of half lion, half man, appears and kills Hiranyakashipu. So he's furious because the relationship between Bhagavan and Bhakta is very intimate. And so if one performs some act of aggression against a Bhakta, Krishna takes it very personally. And he's likely to kill you or cause some great difficulty for you. So he's furious because of the sort of persecution that Prahlad had to undergo. So all the devatas, they began to, with great caution and fear, offer prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev. Because you can imagine a half lion, half man form. You've seen that picture. Yeah, he's like furious. After he kills Hiranyakashipu, all Hiranyakashipu's warriors attacked the Lord also. He had his whole armies. They all attacked the Lord, and he slaughtered all of them. So you can imagine there's like heads and elbows everywhere, arms and ligaments, intestines, blood everywhere. And so the devatas, they like, and the Lord is like, "Rah!" So then, all right, you go. One devata goes to offer prayer. That didn't work. The Lord is still not abated, so you also go. And that way, all the devatas went to offer prayers. Finally, Lakshmi, who's the husband of Vishnu, they said, "This is your husband." She asked, I ain't seen him like this. There's explanation in Bhagavatam because of the Leela Shaktiman potency that governs the pastimes of the Lord. Even though that was her husband, she was like, I don't know who this man is. That ain't my husband, So she didn't want to go for it. So finally, Lord Brahma said, Prahlad, he only came for you, so you go and offer prayers. So in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam, you can read the prayers of Prahlad. And his very first prayer, which is one of my favorite prayers of the Bhagavatam. Brahmandaya suragana munayota siddha satvakatana gatayo vata samprabhai naraditum puruganar adunapi pipru kim toshram arati same hari ugrajati. So Prahlad Maharaj is making this point that all of these Brahma Adhaya, Lord Brahma, Adaya, etc., all these celestial beings, Suragana, the groups of Suras, Devas, the groups of Suras means godly people, or the Devas. Munayo, all the Munis, Siddha, all the perfected persons. Sattva Ekatana Gatayo, they are exclusively fixed in goodness. That is their quality. The Sattva Ekatana Gatayo means they're fixed in this goodness quality of nature. Vachasampravahai. And they've offered you wonderful words with all sorts of poetic ornamentation, which is very satisfying to the heart. Just like even in the mundane world of someone starts singing your glory in poetry, it doesn't have to be good. It just is like adorable. I love your eyes are like the moon. So even just hearing it, you feel charmed. So here, these people actually know poetry. And they're speaking in like wonderful words, ornamented in so many ways, but just some prabhai. You are not satisfied by that. So the idea in saying that is that means that just being in goodness doesn't satisfy the Supreme Lord, nor flattering him with wonderful ornamentation, or that does not satisfy him. So then, Prahlad Maharaj is wondering, how will it be possible for me to satisfy you? I'm situated in a lower guna of nature. If goodness cannot satisfy you, certainly rajas and tamas isn't going to be able to satisfy you. And Prahlad is speaking humbly of himself. Because I'm born in the Asura Jati, I'm born in the family of Asuras. So Asuras means demonic persons fixed in passion and ignorance. And if you want to read more about them, you can read chapter 16 Bhagavad-Gita. And at least my personal experience reading that, I was like, that kind of sounds like me a little bit. First verse, like, okay, I definitely got like 5 or 6 of these qualities. Okay, let's read the next verse. And then you read the next verse, like, that kind of sounds like me too. And then the 3rd verse. And then by the time you finish the 16th chapter, you come to the realization, like, I'm a demon? I remember when I first was coming around the Bodhi circle, and they were calling everyone demons. I couldn't understand how they call everyone demons. Because in the Western culture, demon is like bat wings and horns and 666 and the mark of the beast, and like all this like sort of imagery comes to mind. So the devotees are very nonchalantly call it, oh, he's a demon, that one's a demon. So I used to get really upset. Like, how do you call everyone demons? Like, it ain't even nothing. That's so rude. Where's the bhakti? That doesn't sound like loving devotional service to me, because we're so ignorant, And then when I read, I remember getting into like a very kind of serious fight with one boy. He had been around for like years. And he kept calling people demons left, right, and center, and I couldn't tolerate it. I'm like, this is not bhakti. But then when I read chapter 16, I was like, oh man, he was right. So demonic person, at least asura means a not godly person. Asura means one who is fixed in rajas and tamas, guna of nature. So that is most of society we call as demonic because they're guided by that mode of nature. So their whole absorption is how to gratify or appropriate the objects of the world for their own gratification. And if that means killing, then they can kill also. Now, if you're like a low-level demon, then you might not kill, but the idea will come to you. But when you become more and more fixed in that quality of nature, when it becomes very intense, then you can also kill for your own gratification. It's not even a problem for you. So that's the meaning of asura there. So he said, I'm born in a family of asuras. So if those who are fixed in goodness cannot, how will I be able to satisfy you? So his prayers goes on in this, well, maybe the next verse I share. Manyedana abhijana rupa tapasu tojas, teja prabhava balapurusha bhuti yoga, naradanaya hibhavanti parasupumso, bhaktya tutosha bhagavan vajayuktapaya. So the next verse he said, he gives us like long list of like amazing qualities. Manyedana abhijana rupa tapasu tojas. So persons who are having austerity, beauty, intelligence, they're fixed in yoga, wealth, ojas or power, tejas and ojas and power, influence. He gives a long list of 12 qualities. He says, Naradanaya hibhavanti parasupum. Even with all these qualities, he mentions 12 qualities there, they were not able to satisfy you. Now, someone has some mystic power, they could probably satisfy me. Now, imagine they could just do some magic trick. Ooh. Can you get me a kombucha from across the street? And then they just like, there's one city called Prapti City. So by Prapti, you can just grab anything from any place in the world and just bring it. They just like reach into the air and just like bring it to you. It's called Prapti City. So you said, go get me a kombucha. You're like, wow, I am satisfied. So there's so many things. Someone has intelligence, beauty, so many material qualities are there that are attractive to us and pleasing. Prahlad Maharaj is saying, by all these qualities, you're not able to be satisfied. Therefore, I think bhakta tutosha bhagavan. You're only satisfied by bhakti. Gaja yutapaya. And then he gives an example of even this elephant Gajendra. He was able to satisfy you. So the idea of giving Gajendra, example is Gajendra is in ignorance. He has a body made of ignorance. Ignorance on the outside, ignorance on the inside, but he was able to offer bhakti and you became satisfied. So this is a uncomfortable point for if you're like a really good person. Then we're like, what is the use of your goodness? The voice can be a little bit dismissive of that, and that could be also not always the right mood. But it is a point. Krishna's making the same point here, that not by all these sattva ekatana gatayo, being fixed in all these qualities of goodness. So here, study of Vedas, performing austerity, giving charity, performing yagyas. Are they able to see this form as you are seeing? So then Krishna says in verse 54, which is the next verse, 2, but. So this but point. This form can be seen, but how it can be seen? Bhaktya tvananya ya shakya aham evam vidorjuna. Gatum drashtum chatattvena praveshtum chapanantapa. But by this exclusive devotion, ananyaya bhaktya, through this exclusive devotion, shakya, it is possible for me to be known, gyantum drashtum, to be seen, and he says there, praveshtum cha, and to be entered into, which can mean literally enter into the form of the Lord for those who have a more impersonal disposition toward it. And it also means entering into the abode of God, because Vaikuntha, the spiritual worlds, are not different from Krishna's form. Just like when you walk into a room with your form, then your eyeballs are with you, your ears are with you, luckily, your mouth is with you, and so on. So when Krishna enters into any place, everything is there with him, within his form. So praveshtam here means enter into the spiritual world also. So how you can know Krishna, see Krishna, enter into Krishna, chatattvena, in truth and actual reality. He said only by this bhakti, exclusive devotion, ananya bhaktya, anyanya bhaktya. By this ananya bhakti, you can say. So this is the same point as Prahlad Maharaj that I've just shared these verses. Prahlad Maharaj is making the same point. So goodness, passion, and ignorance, you cannot connect with Krishna. But by bhakti, you can connect and you can know this form of Krishna. So the last verse of the chapter is him saying how this bhakti can be done. Mat karma krin, work for Krishna. Mat paramo, accept Krishna as the supreme goal. Mat bhakta, be Krishna's devotee. Sangha vivarjita, giving up bad association. That is a part, this is Vaishnava behavior. Asat sangha tyaga e Vaishnavachar. When our Mahaprabhu, so Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself in the form of his own devotee, he was asked, what is it, Vaishnava behavior, Bhakta's behavior? So he said, Asat sangha tyaga e Vaishnava. Bhakta's behavior is to give up asat sangha. So sangha means association. Asat means the persons who are just immersed in matter. No concept of spirit, no concept of anything beyond this world. And they may be nice people also, but they're still considered as asat sangha. That means their only interest is for this world, it's not for anything transcendent. So ma bhakta sangha vivarjita, they give up the bad sangha. Later on in chapter 15, when Krishna is also talking about how to attain the spiritual reality, nirmana moha jitta sangha dosha. He says nirmana moha, they give up the bewilderment of false identification with the body, give up pride. Prabhupada said nirmana. Mana means like the desire for respect, pride basically. Nirmana, giving up that jitta sangha dosha, and they give up bad association. They conquer over bad association. Nirvaira sarvabhuteshu, and they're devoid of enmity for all living beings. As long as you have enmity towards, hate is just as powerful as attachment. Now you know about attachment. You know how powerful attachment is, and how it can mess you up, isn't it? We have experience of this attachment on a regular basis and how problematic it can be. So hate is just as powerful, just the opposite side of attachment. And so it's really hard to give up hate. You may have noticed if you hate someone or something, or both. Think about something you hate, your job, your boss, your partner. Well, you think of someone you hate, yeah. And you have good reasons for hating also. That's even worse. When you have good reasons for hating, they're very hard. Now, as long as you're hating, then your mind will be absorbed in asat, the material existence. That's why the modern political situation is so dangerous for spiritual life, because it inspires so much hatred. I've been working with one devotee here. I'm always on his case, because he's so like many of us in the building. Well, I want to say many of us in the ashram, the men's ashram, we have kind of a more conservative bend to our understanding of political issues. Many of us do, at least. What would be considered as conservative? So he gets into the spirit like, oh, these lefties are this and that and so on. I said, but you're not better than them. Yes, I am. He was telling like this. Yes, I'm better than. So I had to really. I said, I was giving an example to him. I said, Titanic. Titanic is ship. So there was Titanic was there, and the poor people, they were on the bottom, and the bottom of the Titanic, and the rich people were at the top where they could enjoy. But I said, when the Titanic went down, all of them died equally. Titanic didn't make any difference between any one of them. They all had fair, how you say? Titanic was an equal opportunity employer and killed everybody. So I gave another example. Equal opportunity destroyer. Right? Everyone was killed. Then I gave another example. I said, so you're on the airplane. So their first class, very nice. They get wine and nice seating areas, and nice television is there. And the economy, you're up, a little crunchy, But when the plane is crashing, everyone dies. There is no distinction between first class, second class. So I said, what is the difference between you and these people? You are subject to death. They are also subject to death. You are in Maya in one way, and they're in Maya in another way. So what is the difference? Only this sense of difference is created by the illusory energy. So therefore, becomes an important point of even bhakti life. Nirvaira sarvabhuteshu, devoid of enmity for all creatures. And the only way you can really be devoid of enmity is if you can see them as you see yourself. That is how you have to, that's the only way to really give up hate. Because you don't hate yourself. Sometimes you hate aspects of yourself, but ultimately you love yourself. And you do everything in this world for the benefit of yourself. You think about yourself more than anyone else in the day. You love yourself more than anyone else. Sometimes you say, I love the partner, which is a complete joke, but sometimes you joke like that. But then if they do some transgression against you, then you give them up. Isn't it? That means who do you love primarily? Yourself. This is it's an ontological reality. It's inescapable. So when you start to see other beings as you see yourself, you can give up hate. Otherwise, you will always see difference. When you look at just the bodies, you see difference. I look different from you. I have different ideas than you. We're in different gunas that influence our bodies and minds. So then, as long as I see in terms of the body, then I will hate. There's a chance I can hate you. Not you specifically. I might like you, but then I can hate you also. Just like anyone that you can like, you can also hate them just as easily. It's interesting like that, actually. You like that's my best bro. We like really tight, and then there's like some little transgression is there, and then you're like, I can't stand that. You can go opposite side. It's quite interesting. I've seen it happen all the time. People are like best friends, and then you like borrow money from your friend, and you just don't pay them back, and all of a sudden you're an enemy. It just switches like quite quickly. Actually, material is so like fragile. This material energy. So unless you can see entities as you see yourself, see yourself means seeing yourself as a soul. Then you will be full of the enmity, and your mind will always be focused on this material energy. You won't be able to get out of it. So this also becomes part of bhakti life. Nirvaira sarvabhuteshu, giving up the enmity. Yasamam eti pandava. Then such a person certainly comes to me. By this 5 days Krishna meant working for me, taking him as a goal, being his devotee, giving up bad association, and giving up entity for entity. By these 5 processes, then you will come to Krishna and know him as he is in his divine form. So that's the end of the chapter. This is going to lead to Arjuna asking a question. We'll cover this. We'll probably cover chapter 12, all of it on Wednesday. I'll cover it a little bit different than I've been covering the rest of the classes. But this is going to lead to Arjuna asking a question. Because in the first 6 chapters, Krishna kind of talked about realization of the self, which is like a particle of Brahman. And Krishna in the middle 6 chapters has talked about devotion to himself. So this leads Arjuna to ask a question of these 2 types of person, who do you consider better or most connected in yoga? Are those who are always worshiping you and always linked to you in devotion? Or ye chapyakshanam avyaktam, those who are worshippers of the imperishable Brahman. That means the self here. Tesham ke yoga vitama, who is the superlative knower of yoga of these 2 persons? So this kind of was wrapping up all the things we heard in the first 6 chapters and all the things we've been hearing in the middle 6 chapters. And then Krishna's going to say my devotee, and then he develops a topic from there. Chapter 12 is called Bhakti Yoga. So that's it for tonight. Any questions or comment? Someone wants to say something. Otherwise, you can share some realization, some reflection. Yes.
What's the reference to giving up mental speculation?
And the last verse, Anyabhilashita Shunyam Gana Karmadi Navitam. Is that the verse that's quoted? I believe so, yeah. Anukoyana. So this verse is the definition of pure bhakti given by Rupa Goswami. So our tradition of bhakti is coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, And his main followers who codified the philosophy, because Mahaprabhu never wrote anything. He only taught. So he had this core followers. They were known as the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. They kind of codified all his teachings into like an actual theology. Specifically, Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Sanatana Goswami. They were all like family. So Mahaprabhu taught pure bhakti to Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami, his main literature is called the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That's like his magnum opus. And there he defines what is Ananya Bhakti. So Krishna used the word Ananya Bhakti, right? He said only by this Ananya Bhakti in verse 11, 54, right? Only by this Ananya Bhakti can you know me. So Ananya Bhakti means pure bhakti. So Rupa Goswami is defining what is pure bhakti. Anya Abhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi. So pure bhakti has like its essential characteristic, and it's, you can call it peripheral characteristic, or I like to use the word intrinsic and extrinsic. Just like a lake, you know a lake by both its extrinsic characteristic and its extrinsic characteristic. What is a lake? What is a lake? What answer you will give? What is a lake?
Body of water that's not connected to the ocean.
Yes, a body of water is not. Are there other bodies of water that's not connected to an ocean? A big body of water that's not connected to the ocean. Are there big bodies of water that's not connected to an ocean other than the lake? What about like rivers? Sometimes they're connected to seas and not oceans. So that definition is not clear enough. So anyway, I always do this exercise. A lake is a large body of water that is surrounded by land on all sides. So that is a large body of water is an extrinsic characteristic, and that is surrounded by land on all sides is extrinsic. It means that the land is not part of the lake, but it helps you to have a clear understanding of what a lake is, right? Otherwise, you cannot give a clear definition. You say large body of water, I can think ocean, I can think sea. You understand? So this definition of Uttam Bhakti has its essential characteristic and its extrinsic characteristic. So the intrinsic characteristic of pure bhakti is Anukuyena Krishna Nu Shilanam, the constant endeavor with your body and mind and words and emotions directed at Krishna favorably. This is the intrinsic characteristic of devotion. And its extrinsic characteristic is Anya Abhilashita Shunya, is devoid of all desires other than desire to please Krishna. And Jnana Karmadi Anavritam, it means it is not eclipsed. Anavritam means it is not covered by impersonal knowledge. Karma means fruit of activities, for this world. It can be by the Vedic ritual or other sort of activities. It is not covered by forms of austerity that are not devotionally informed, like a vipassana meditation or something like that. It is not covered by renunciation. That is not for the sake of devotion. So the mental speculation there means jnana. So it is not covered by impersonal knowledge. That is not useful for bhakti. God is just energy, or God is Brahman. That is not useful for bhakti. So it is not covered by that sort of thinking. So so Prabhupada is quoting that verse because it is a reference to the Ananya Bhakti, that Krishna can only be known by this exclusive devotion. So that definition is being provided from our tradition of what it means to be a pure devotee or pure bhakti, what that means. So here Krishna is saying you should know him by pure bhakti, so you need a clarity. What is that pure bhakti? So actually this definition of pure devotion when I teach it usually takes me like an hour and a half or 2 hours to teach the definition. It's like got a lot of details to it. You'd be like astounded to see how many details. I just explain it very simply now. But for me to explain it all the way, actually this Friday I have to do a Zoom presentation, sort of secular group, on the definition of Uttama Bhakti.